guys, it's Clarice and happy Sunday. Today is, instead of the Sunday live that I typically have, because I have a prior engagement and wouldn't be home, I decided to pre-record this. But I hope this doesn't dull your experience today, because we are going to still have a lot of fun. It is February, it is the first Sunday of the month, and we are heading right away into our love theme for our paintings, still keeping with our loose florals though. Okay, so really quickly I'm going to tell you what I am using today. So this is my Legion Stonehenge 300 GSM watercolor paper. Keeping with this week's video tutorial, we are going to be using some of the Etchr graphic pens, and then we are continuing on our journey with using the ZenART brushes. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them here. I might or might not use all of them. We're going to see. I will definitely be using or getting a little bit of help from one of my tinier brushes. So we're going to be using the Escoda number 2. I'm going to keep that handy on the side. And then for colors, we have our my set of 36 white knights right here. And let's see, I've got 2 little things of water on the side here, and we are ready to begin. So I hope you did this Thursday's video. I think that would really be helpful for what we're going to do over here. So first thing I need you to do is quickly draw in a rough heart, and then we are going to proceed and start painting something in here. We're going to start off by using the bigger brush, and what I have done is gotten some of my ruby red on here with a hint of carmine. So I've got some mixed on here. I've gotten some color directly from the palette as well. And my first thing before I lay down anything on this is I am going to use my spray bottle, I mentioned this in the beginning, to just spray some water on here. Now, because it's not like a nice mist, I've got too much water, so I'm just taking my paper towel and I'm lightly dabbing, and then I'm going to start into doing the painting. So just like we do our flat flowers, 1, 2, 3, and then what I also want to do is get the smaller brush handy. I'm going to get some of my carmine, which is on the side here. Perhaps get some from the cake as well, because this is too little. And then I'm just going to go ahead and create more of these petals just like this on here, alternating with the 2 so I can get a nice mix and blend of both colors. So there we go. We've got that. I am going to allow this to do a little bit of drying before we come back to it. In the meantime, what we're going to do is create another flower kind of coming downward here, and for that I'm just going to continue using this brush, and we'll use the carmine that we have, and I'm going to mix it in with a little bit of some leftover purple that I have from our video on Thursday. And so this flower, I'm just going to do one over here. And the whole point is to kind of have a nice, beautiful blend happening here of these very loose florals and allowing the water to kind of do its thing. So if you've not done that video from Thursday, I suggest you do that. It'll be quite helpful in terms of getting these flat florals ready for you. And now I'm just going to take a little bit of the red that I have, and I'm just going to add it to the bottom here. The ruby red, that is. I'm just going to add some here. And this is just so that we have some semblance of what's happening at the top, down at the bottom as well. Okay, now as soon as this is done, we're going to go right away into our brush right here, the number 8. And I'm going to get some of my cadmium medium lemon. I just got that on the brush here. and I'm going to directly paint it into the center of our little flower here. So this way I get a nice blend of lemon happening into our flower right away. We want that nice burst of color mixing in with what we've done already, and this is what makes it nice and pretty and kind of almost abstract looking. Okay, now as soon as I've gotten that done, I'm going to mix whatever remaining lemon I have in with this green that I have here. This is also leftover green from our Thursday, and using the number 8 again, I am just going to add a couple of strokes here and there while this area is still damp. And notice what I'm doing. I'm kind of going around the shape of the heart. Okay, so I'm getting like this nice really thin line, and I'm going to allow it to kind of do a little bit of a swirl. And then I'm going to get some color directly from the color palette, like a darker green, and I'm just going to add it to the areas where it's connecting to the flower. Some hints here and there. And then let's do a couple of leaves happening on this end here too. If you don't know how to do loose leaves, I do have a video showing you how to do these loose leaves. So please feel free to check that out, and that should make your journey a lot easier if you are new to this. Having a little bit of yellow to blend in with our leaves also is helpful, because what happens is you're now getting a variety of different kinds of greens for the leaves, which makes it a little more organic looking and less planned out. All right, so now that this is done, mostly I'm trying to get in as much green as I can here and there, just to kind of fill these areas up so it does look like a nice whatchamacallit, heart. Okay, so I think this is good enough. We're going to move on to doing another couple of florals over here. We're going to spray a little bit onto this end here facing this way, ever so lightly, and then taking the paper towel and we're just dabbing to take off excess water. I'm going to use the same kind of color combination in the exact same manner that we did up there. So our 2 flat brushes, I'm going to start off with using the big one first, getting some of my, let's reverse the colors, let's get some carmine this time. And I'm going to start that flower from here. And this flower can just be like head on, as opposed to doing it sideways. And I'm trying to mix in a little bit of that carmine in here. Carmine. I've started saying carmine ever since I saw Patty in the video from last Sunday's live, where she is referring it to as carmine. And I know a lot of people have been saying it is carmine, but I've always been calling it carmine. Anyways, issues or not, actually. So getting some of the yellow, I'm going to add some yellow in here. There's too much water pooling, so it's not giving me the perfect blend. So I'm just going to try and dab off some stuff just around the center and then go in with the yellow. That's fine. I'm going to get a little bit more of the carmine, and I'm just going to add a couple of strokes into this petals here so that when it dries we get a nicer, starker, detailed sort of look happening. Okay, so I've done that. What I'm going to do is use this to create some petals, sorry, not petals, the inner part of the flower over here. This time I'm kind of going reverse. And then I'm going to use this guy, the smaller guy, to get some of the mixture with the purple and do this while it is still nice and damp. Pushing all the color down to the center. I'll use a little bit of the bigger brush to kind of get in some hints of the color we've used here into this flower. I'm trying to leave as much white space as I can. The theme, which is going to be, that's the theme for our watercolor class for Feb, white space. White space is so integral in a loose style of painting. That's what we're doing here. And most of it comes only once you start practicing and being intentional about it. So that's what we're doing here. Okay, so I like how that looks. We're gonna go ahead and mix some more green. So I've got some of that yellow and I'm mixing that yellow in with, you can mix it in with some of your emerald and your Mars brown. That's what we used this week for our green enhancements around. Okay, so here we go. Here's some of the greenery, just kind of trying to have it weave in nicely. And by weave in nicely, I mean kind of take advantage of the damp areas to make it seem nice and loose and flowing. I want it to be nice and flowing. So I'm trying to get, see that's pooling right there. We don't want that. So what I would suggest is just take your paper towel and lightly dab so it doesn't give you an uglyish result. So too much water there. But I'm trying to lightly add some detail on the edge without it blending too much into our actual flower. Okay, so let's do a little bit here. And I'm going to get some more color, blending in more of that Mars brown to kind of get a nice darker hue. Pushing all the color down over the stem so that it doesn't look all over the place. I'm just going to add some of this green that we have over here and there into this area too. Have some tiny little ones here. We don't want to close up too much areas, too many areas, just because we want to go in with some of that nice, those graphic pens and add more detail, but I'm going to try and do as much as we can to make this look nice and pretty, a composition. Okay, so I like how this looks. Now it's kind of equal. I was hoping for it to be a little more sporadic. So now we've got this area. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do one more at the bottom. So for the bottom, we're going to use the same technique, but we're going to make this flower a more muted color. So I've sprayed some water and now I am going to dab this area so I can get the water to spread as much as I can. And let's continue using the same technique for flowers. I need a little more dabbing to happen. And we're going to use the bigger brush. And what I have done is I have gotten some of my yellow ochre, mixed it onto the side over here. And we're going to do the same kind of flower, but using, okay, well, slightly different actually. So I'm going to do this. And then I want to add the rest of the strokes just using the side of my brush like so, a combination of your flat side of the brush and then also the side of the, like, sorry, flat end or width of your brush, and then also using the side of your brush to kind of get these kind of lines in there. Okay, so something like that. And now what I'm going to do is take the number 8 and we're going to wash off all the color from it, and what I want to do is just add in or subtract some of the color from here. And what this does is this is giving your flowers some detail. By taking off the color, you're kind of leaving it with these little stripy looking things, areas. Now I'm going to get some of the Mars Brown and just add it to the center really, really quickly. Just kind of dabbing it around so that it can blend in nicely and give us this nice, pretty kind of effect. Great, that is what I wanted. I'm going to mix the rest of that into the green so we're not really wasting it. And now we're just going to continue creating some more leaves in and around this area. Give your leafy structures some flow. Remember your white space. Remember dipping your brush in water a few times just to kind of get a nice variation of green, almost gradient-like. Adding little tendril-like strokes here and there to kind of really loosen up the whole look and feel. Adding some greenery over here on this end while it is still damp so we can get a nice blend. Now we don't want to fill up the area way too much because what we're going to do is add some tinier florals. So leave some room for that. And I'm going to get some more of the green, like a darker tone of it, just to add a little bit more. And then pushing all the dark colors down. Okay, so now that we have this, we want to incorporate this kind of tone throughout, or maybe add another color to kind of enhance this. I'm just kind of quickly thinking as I paint these in. So I think it would be best to kind of add, let's add some of the purpley hue into here, and let's add it in the form of little berries, berry flowers that are kind of going around. Okay, so I've got some of that color mixed here, so I'm going to use the number 8, and I know I said number 2, but I think this should be good enough. So I've got some carmine mixed with violet, and let's use that as this one right here as the color that that we use for the tinier flowers. And then I'll blend in a little bit of this color so that it ties in with the whole heart that we have going on. Now I really don't think we need to do too much, so I got some of that color on here, and I'm just going to go ahead and add some loose, round, oval sort of shaped berries here, just using the tip of my brush. And then actually I'll add some over here before I lighten the color anymore. And then I'll also add some coming out from this guy here. And then finally some at the bottom. And now I will just add, dip my brush in some water, and I'm going to add, this is still too dark, so I want it to be really light so that it gives us a nice blend. What I want to also do while I am adding watery strokes here and there is add in a little bit of the yellow bits. So it looks like this. And then it ties in with our main flower. That is the point here. Get some down over here on this end. Okay, and now I think it's good enough. We've got a good enough blend. Let's add some stems to kind of tie these in. So really quickly, I am going to use the, yep, here's where I can use my number 2. I'm going to use the number 2, and I'm going to get some of the Mars brown mixed in with the green, and we're going to connect these stems. And so here's what that is going to look like. Oh, stem is not nice and pointed. Here we go. Really lightly adding these delicate looking stems, kind of just going towards the direction of how you've sort of painted these. Same thing here. Feel free to kind of switch your paper around if that enables you, gives you better access to kind of draw these in or paint these in, whatever you want to call it. And finally, we've got some here. Perfect. You see how some of them have that nice blend of the green happening into the color? I love that. Like, that's what I typically would have loved to have. Now, last thing we do before we get into doing more of the graphic pens is I'm just going to use the number 2 and create some more tinier looking leaves. And also adding some detail to some of these stronger leaves here that I want standing out. So I'm just going in and just adding an additional stroke just on some of them, not all. Wherever I feel it needs to go, it is going to go. And so we've got that there, one more here, one there. Okay, so I think we're almost ready. Just adding of strokes here and there to kind of fill up and fluff up the area, make it look nice and full. Okay, so I think this is okay. I want to do one more thing, and that is adding some more of the yellow ochre that we have. So what I'm going to do is just add in some here. Just kind of on a very light scale, almost like it is fading off, but it's still helping us tie in everything together, and it's got direction as well. I think some can be added here at the bottom. Let's do some kind of protruding this way. And just additional over here on this guy. Good. So I think this is good enough. Yeah, okay. One more thing. I feel like there's too much of a white space or a gap over there. So I'm just going to use, again, the number 2, and we are going to go ahead and create some filler leaves maybe. Let's see, some really light looking strokes of green. So when I say light, this is not what I meant. It needs to be lighter. So I'm washing off the color and I'm going to get a lighter tone. There we go, something like that. And I'm just doing really quick strokes like that. I don't really like that, how it's turned out. So I'm just going to try and dab it off as best as I can, so it's light in color and doesn't look too overpowering. So little tiny lines to kind of just enhance and show direction work. So something like this maybe. We're literally trying to fill up space, but at the same time make it seem full. Sorry, fill up space and making it seem full are the same thing. Making it seem not too intensely full is what I was trying to say. So just kind of going around and adding these here and there. And we're almost done. I don't know if we're gonna have any room to do our little graphic pen bit. My gosh, this is what happens when you start painting. All right, okay, so this is what that looks like now. Now let's just decide where we want to do our graphic pen detail. All right, so now here comes the graphic pen detail. So we're going to be using exactly like what we used in the video for this week, which is the number 3 and number 6. I am going to start off with using the number 6. Do I want to start? Yes. And we're going to outline the flowers first and then do the other details. Now we don't want to do all the flowers, so I am going to outline, we'll do all the centers though, that's for sure. So let's start off with the centers actually. So it's kind of damp, yep. So I am doing my little raggedy lines all around, make them uneven. Then as you go this way, it is dotted and shorter. Then we're doing a combination of circles and dots. And kind of trying to be sporadic about this. We want the center to have a nice pop. So that is the point here. So it looks detailed without looking detailed, if that makes any sense. So we've got one here. We're gonna do the next one down. Now this one you could just do like half of it and leave the rest. We want to keep this very abstract. We want the colors to kind of speak for itself. and we don't want to overdo details because this is the loose style of painting and we're trying to do some inking, again, without being too incredibly detailed. Okay, so we got some there. Let's do some on this one. This one will have the lines all over because it's facing upward fully. And then we've got our dots and circles kind of sporadically all over here. And I'm trying to kind of have a faded, like, so it's really congested in the center and then kind of faded, dotted look around. We'll do some over here as well. On this guy. So I'm not time-lapsing any of this so that you guys can feel like we're doing this live together. Even though I'm not live, but you know, thinking about you guys. Maybe I'll be in the chat. Maybe I'm saying hi in the chat. All right, so almost done with this. Perfect. And yeah, let's do this guy as well. Yes, this one's way more pronounced compared to the other ones. Circles and dots, kind of trying to give it that unruly look, but still kind of unruly and loose look. Yes, I don't know where I was going with that comment because I was really like concentrating here how to make this unplanned. So I'm kind of doing the dotted extensions on the end. So just dotting the edges just to kind of make it seem more, give it a nice fade from super dark to like spread out. And I kind of like the effect that it's giving this flower. But we're not going to add any detail to this guy. Actually, you know what? Maybe we should add some detail to this guy because he seems like the main guy. I was initially thinking to these guys here and leave him alone. But it might help to give him some detail, leave these guys alone. Just because he is lighter. So we'll do him and we'll do this guy here and then let's go from there. Okay, so I am going to use my brush and this number 6 pen to kind of give this flower a nice shape right there. Another one there, another petal. It's almost like a poppy, this flower. There we go. So that's nice. I kind of like this. Now with this style of flower, you don't typically need to have too much detail because the center is already, like, it has a lot of detail. So what I'm going to do is just add a couple of lines. You know what? I'm going to switch pens. I'm going to add a couple of lines using the thinner pen. Just like this, and it can look like it is shadowy effects or just detail in the bend of where the petal is. That's open to interpretation. Okay, so we've got that one, that one. Let's do some here. Some in this edge here, just because there doesn't seem to be much happening here because of the green. Perfect, and I'll do some over here. And a little bit here. And then some on this one. And I think that should be enough. We don't really need much else from this guy. Let's do a little bit happening on these smaller ones, and we'll leave the rest open. I would like to add, you know what, as we're doing this, some, not with this pen, with the other pen actually. With the thicker pen, we're going to add some flowing, these are going to be more like berries. Just like that. Yeah, so we've got one here. So I think it makes sense to kind of have one going this way, just so it doesn't look like it's just that one guy. We'll have some flowing out over here. And I really like how it kind of adds some enhancement to some more detailed enhancement to our very loose style of painting here. So I'm going to add some in these areas as well. Some slightly overlapping the petals as well, like why not? Kind of add something nice. So we've got 1, 2, and then let's do some over on these guys here. So actually, before we go to those guys, let's add some here. Leave that there. So we've got one here, Let's do one this way upward. So allow it to kind of almost be directional, so it looks like it is kind of sort of dancing, which adds some nice movement to the whole thing. I want some to look like they've got two sprigs happening at the same time. So I added a second one there. Let's do, yeah, I think let's do one here. I'm actually wondering, we might not even need to do anything else because we don't want to add too much stuff on this and overpower or make it look too full and dark. So this might just be good enough and we might not have to touch any of the other flowers. Let's just see once we survey it, survey our end results after these little guys, and then make a decision. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at this, and yeah, okay, so because I feel like this one would stand out like a sore thumb, we're going to go ahead and create, just add maybe a petal or two in these smaller ones and make that brighter. So adding the petals for this is going to be using the thicker one. We're gonna go ahead and draw this one in, for example. Now, each of you will have different shapes. Please feel free to use whatever you can decipher from the watercolor shapes that you've gotten in your loose style, right? So highlighting these guys, I'm going to do this guy here. And then we'll do this guy here. These are folds that I've added into the petal. All of them don't really need one, but I just kind of did that anyways. All right, so now I'm going to take the thinner brush and we are drawing lines in. So this should be easy. We're going to start from the center and then kind of spread it out. So that it starts from a point and then it spreads out. So that's the whole idea for that style. Same thing here. We're going to start from the center, spread these guys out. Just go with the pattern and don't focus on the amount of space in between or anything like that. Just fill it up and leave the little folds as they are. Don't fill those up. I am thinking if it'll be better to just color them in with the black as opposed to doing these lines for that. So there's one, here's the next. And yes, uneven spacing, as I think I mentioned it before. It would give it more of an organic, abstract kind of look. Starting from the center and just fanning out. I'm going to make sure that the edges are touching. Okay, perfect. So that's that. And finally, yes, I am going to take a moment to fill those edges in, as I mentioned. So here goes. I'm just going to paint them black or color it in black. Maybe watch me and see if you like this effect or not. If you feel like it's too much, then don't do it. But literally, I think what we did today, we could have ended without the graphic pens. But if you're trying to do something new and explore something new with pens, this is a great start. I kind of like that. That's some nice contrast. Fabulous, and here we go. Last one. Great, there we go. So that's that. I really like how these have turned out. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Can't wait to see your work. Make sure you are tagging me on social media so I can see exactly what you've done. Or just send it to me via DMs if you're not comfortable posting it. And let's see what you guys did. In the meantime, here's a close-up of what that looks like. I kind of really like it. It's something different. It's something new. In fact, you could even go in and maybe add thinner versions of these guys if you feel like you need some more, but it's cute. These whimsical little loose leaves really add some nice dancing to it, and there's a lot of movement. That's what I mean by dancing. There's a lot of contrast, which is great, not just for colors but also with the black and white space. All right, thanks guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new to my channel. I do a lot of videos like this. Once again, thanks for sharing your Sunday with me, and we will chat soon. Bye.